G'day! In today's video I'm replacing a smash screen on an Ipod Touch 7th gen. Now if you've repaired any of these earlier models, the 5th gen and the 6th gen, this one should be very familiar to you. So I've had it sitting on the heat pad here for about 10 minutes at 75 degrees Celsius, which means I should be able to lift out the screen reasonably easy. I am using a thin metal pry tool just here, and I should be able to dig under and just twist. No, not quite. So I've revealed some of the glass here, so now I should be able to hopefully pry that up, like so. This bottom section here does have adhesive, so this section here is expected to be stuck down. Thus the heat should assist in lifting it up. Or it may go similar to what I'm experiencing right here, where it just breaks apart. Go one home button. I'll take the adhesive off if I can. Take glue out of there. And the glass. The less glass fragments you have, usually the better. And this phone, being it's a relatively small phone, mostly made of metal, it is very hot to the touch. Go. Go. So I've tilted that up. That's lifted most of it out. From here I could probably kill the heat, or at least drop it down to 60 degrees Celsius. There's no more adhesive there holding it into place. As you can see, we are now in. So from here we're going to need a small Phillips head screwdriver. I'm taking out most, if not virtually all the screws we see here. Now we're going to expect that these ones here, here, are all going to be the same length. So we'll just put them to the left and to the right. Further down here, we have one here that we need to take out. One here. One here. And one here. Sorry, my hand is covering that. Next up, two more at the top here. We'll move these down. One. And this one here too. Next up, lift it up with a pair of tweezers. So we should be able to, like so. Now we'll grab a fresh tray for the next batch of screws. As there is a few more we need to undo. So we got this one here and here. And then we've got a few up the top to undo as well. There and there. Fold this down. And one over here too. And typically what I'd undo as well is these three that are on the antenna cable here, as that usually does help getting the board out without having to disconnect the antenna that's there. So if I lift this up now, like so, we have one antenna. Now if I just pull this up loosely, and my bad lighting here isn't going to help you guys, sorry, but there is a cable here, antenna here. If we take out the rear facing speaker, usually wiggle that, it should come out relatively easily, like so, to give us a bit more space. Next up we want to disconnect the flex connector. like so. And next, the display itself, which is here. Hold that down. And do remember the front facing camera is also connected, so don't tug too much. There we go. Next up, hold that down, pull, and we've removed one screen. Now it's time to do a little bit of prep work. So I'm going to move the screws off, move the body, or flip the body over. So we get rid of any extra dirt or glass shards that may be in there. Don't worry about dirt, hopefully. Put that out of the way. Now I'm going to give that bench a bit of a clean. Give it a wipe down. Move that home button so I don't lose it. Now go over to the other side. Similar scenario. Wipe, wipe, wipe. There. And let's bring it back. So where's my second favorite tool? Brush your teeth, brush your electrical devices, help remove those glass shards. Next up we have one new display. This is where it gets tricky, especially when you got to do some panel beating. This corner here, it is not square. So I'm gonna have to bend that out. I don't have really any tools apart from pliers to do that with. But if I don't bend it out now, essentially by the time I go put that screen in there, it's gonna break the glass. Because glass doesn't compress when you try and push it in. Now comes the tricky part. I'm going to feed this over and wrap it around and click it in. So you can go one method, which is disabling or disconnecting the power button here and doing it that way. I tend to try and leave that on there as it tends to be a bit more trickier, but let's see how we go. To begin with, you want to loosely line it up. Lift. Now it's going to be tricky to capture this for you guys, especially when my hair's in the way. Fold it over. And try and push down. Now that will disconnect that. There we go. So now with that disconnected, gives you plenty more freedom. Try and line that screen up. But it should make a relatively decent clicking sound when you do have it reattached. If you don't hear a relatively good clicking or crunching sound, it's probably not aligned. This one now feels good as well. So if those connected, now's the tricky part of reconnecting the power button. Right now I'm pushing the pair of tweezers right behind it. Slide it around on there. That seems to be connected in as it should. So from here, if you're unsure about it, connect it up to power and wake it back up, turn it on. This one was dead flat, so I didn't have to worry about powering it off right at the very beginning. Probably should have mentioned that to you guys, but that is just a given, or an expectation that that would be the case. So what I'm going to do here is power it back up or stick it on charge and make sure that the touch panel's working rather than fully push it in and clip it in and find out I've got a dud screen. So I'm going to redo this the second tray of screws, which were for the antenna and the few different corners. Fold that over. Let it in position. There we go. Go. One screw. Two screw. Three screw. So let's give this a quick test out, and then I'll continue the assembly from there. That screw didn't feel like it wanted to click in. There we go. Now it's screwed in. So give it a test out, see how you go. Make sure your home button still works as well, and then we'll proceed. So we've tested out perfectly fine. So I'm going to proceed with the rest of the reinstall, which should be pretty straightforward once we've gotten to here. As long as this screen wants to fit in, that's probably my next big concern. Put that there, put this here, over the top. Make sure there's no glass shards on there. All good. Next up, putting those screws back. So we've got all these 6 here are the same. That one in the wrong spot. Go. 3 along here. And these bottom ones. As I talk about glass shards, there's one sitting right there. I'll leave that one lined up over here. That's all the screws put back in. Next up, you can replace the adhesive down here if you like, which is what I'm going to be doing. Yeah. There. There. Remove the backing film. Now it's a matter of just folding it over. Should be able to slide in just at the top here, into a bit of a groove. So it should. Struggling to find it. There we go. We're in that groove now, so it should be sitting nice like that. Next point of concern is lining up that home button. So don't be too concerned about the rest of the phone, as it seems to all fall into place. Next point of major concern is the home button itself. Lining it up. As I mentioned here, looking straight down, that corner there needs to also be bent out. So I did miss that initially. So I need to pry it back open, hopefully with minimal damage or no damage to the display, to be able to bend the section out. Worst case scenario, if I can't bend it back out, I will put a bit more adhesive there, work around it. Go. Push. Still not going, so I think I'm going to have to file that corner. Lift and fold, and I'm going to go get a file. Another little trick I've got here is, usually in instances like this as well, I'll file off the plastic onto an angle. It has a bit more of a groove to kind of slide it, or it works its way in. My home button. Which in this instance has looked to have helped. Looking straight down the guts of it there. You're right. So from there, once you've aligned your home button, which if you still have the gasket, hopefully you can do that relatively easily. If you don't have the gasket, you should hopefully just be able to push, twirl it with your finger. As we see, we are good. So that's how to replace the display in an Ipod Touch 7th generation, which funnily enough is very similar to the 6th and the 5th. Bye.